Hello and welcome to the 1000 Authors Show. My name is Vicky Quinn-Fraser and today I am interviewing John Holcroft, who I have known for years and who is writing a book, a really important book that I'm really excited about. So I decided to invite him on the podcast and he has come along and told me all about it. And so without further ado, I really hope you enjoy this interview. John's got some really important things to say about they're going to be really important for anybody who runs a business, or in fact, anybody who interacts with other human beings and wants to have good relationships with them. So enjoy this podcast and I will see you afterwards. John Holcroft, welcome to the 1000 Authors Show.
Hello, Vicky. It's lovely to be here.
It's lovely to have you here. So yeah, I really chuffed that. I think this is the first time you've been on the podcast, isn't it?
Yes, it is true. I've done other podcasts, but not with you.
No, and I'm not sure why it's taken this long, but now, of course, you are writing a book, and so it seems like the perfect time to draw you in and get you to talk about it. But before we do that, I would like to know more about you. What's your story? Where do you come from? How did you end up here?
Well, how I ended up here was actually through all the struggles I had trying to run businesses for myself over the last few years, because I had a very successful corporate career. I ended up leading teams and investment banks and all, so it's all very good. But I wanted to do something effectively more worthwhile and spend some time with my kids. So I went on the entrepreneurial journey, went through, tried to do my own startup, or did startup accelerators, and had mixed results. Well, kind of some stuff failed as a complete disaster, as the way to go, and I'm now doing some things that work. And through that, I now have opinions. there are things which people tell people to do, which is very hard, and I want to try and make those things easy, so that the people trying to do their own businesses and do their own things have less fear and more success.
Well, that sounds awesome. So can you give us a couple of examples of what things are like you said, that people tell entrepreneurs to do things that are really hard? Can you give us a couple of examples of those?
Exactly. So my main one is talk to your clients, right? That's possibly my entire mission right now is talk to your clients, because what I'm trying to get people away from is, if I'm against anything, it's the build it and pray approach, which is you think there's this problem here, this thing you're a bit of an expert in, and you decide to make a thing on it. So it may be writing a book or a course or a product or a service or something, but you're kind of a bit scared to talk to people about it because you're really close to you, and you want the feedback, but you don't really want to talk to people. It's all very scary because it's too real. And so you build something all by yourself, and then you launch it and say it doesn't do so well, because I think you're then just hoping it will do well. Mm-hmm. and say it's not selling very well. Is that because it's not quite the right product for your audience, or because you're not very good at sales and marketing? Mm-hmm. And of course, everyone's terrible at sales and marketing start, right? So is this something that you're not doing quite right? And my point is that you know how you can find out? You can find out at any point just by talking to your clients. And I have ways that you can talk to them, but also you can find stuff out before you even start. There's actually certain ways you can talk to people which will save a lot of time and effort. I should give you an example.
Yeah, please.
Shouldn't I? Well, so I'll tell you about, I've done it for my own book. I decided the first called Eat Your Own Dog Food. So all through me writing my book and I've done a course for the book, I have recruited some people and I've talked to them beforehand, and there's a way I will talk to them. I'll ask them effectively about, I'm finding there's 4 things that I find out, but I ask them different questions again. So I'm trying to ask them what pain they want a relief from. What's the problem that they want to try to not have? Mm-hmm. I try to find out what better future they have. What would it look like if it was all really good? And so that's the kind of things that help people do things. And then I'm also trying to find out, what are they anxious or concerned about? Because everyone has about everything. There's things you don't like in stuff. You maybe use other things like this and it didn't work for you. Mm-hmm. And you want to try and find those things out, because then because what they didn't like about someone else's product is what they won't like about yours. And that's a great way to find out about things before you ever make anything. I just want to find out is, would they go for it? This thing called habit of the present, okay. which is that some people particularly for instance in the startup world, a lot of people say, oh, it's a really big problem. Oh yeah, it's really important. Would they pay for it? No. So you got to find out, how much do they actually care? Are they actually prepared to take any action? And there's ways you can find out about that, which is kind of, well, that one. I'm withering, but I could give you some examples of questions for all of those things I ask people. But for this book, I ultimately, I'll tell you where I got to.
Yeah.
With this book, of course, my book. Tell me about my course. So my book is called Be a Client Whisperer, and I also have a course on the side, which is kind of the interactive version of the same, because it's all about learning to talk to people, and often having a safe place to practice is a good thing to have.
Yes.
And so where I'm trying to get people to there is there's where I want to move them away from, where I want them to move them to. So what's their better future? Their better future is they want to be confident. Right? It's really about confidence. We want to be confident in asking our clients or users for interviews, and then talking to them in those interviews, knowing that you will come across well. You want to have confidence in whatever product or service you're going to make, or maybe a proposal you're going to deliver to your client. And you got to be confident that you understand them, their needs, and that you can deliver something that really helps.
Yeah.
And yes, and so that's where I'm trying to get people to. And do you know how I find that out?
Go on.
Because I talked to people and they told me.
So how do you, because like you said at the beginning, and it's, sorry, I've got my pen because I'm making notes, but you said at the beginning that people find it difficult to talk to people for all of the reasons. So how did you get past that block of talking to people? Or was it a problem for you at all? Or do you just know it's
oh God, yes. Right. So of course, earlier in my career, I was a software developer. And though I didn't think I was a particularly introverted person, I was, right? And I was very standard in this. And so of course there was the very negative thing about the failure of my first startup, that I had effectively spent 4 years on it. All of our money, really, all of our money got spent on those 4 years on trying to do the startup thing. And then eventually I had to give it up because it wasn't working. And when I finally did the analysis at the end of why it wasn't working, I realized I could have found that out before I started.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the product worked. What I intended to make, I made. It was really high quality. It really did exactly what I was intended to do, but it wasn't right for the market I was aiming at, and I could have found out before I built it. So that kind of sticks with you, when you've
Yeah.
when you've done that. And then I went back to the corporate world for a while, and of course I'd read books and things and stuff, but then I started being involved in being done for real. I worked at a place which actually had one of the best user experience labs in London, and I saw us doing this where you got people in for interviews, and I saw the researchers interview them and doing things, and I was part of a team taking notes and doing what we're learning from it. And I was going, well, both this is amazing, and also it doesn't need a team. You can do this by yourself. And yeah, I think it's just there's often a fear of what you do, because most people, I think everyone starts with the same idea, which is pitching. You think about talking about your idea, or the idea of talking to people, you think that talking is talking, but really it's listening. And so everyone starts with pitching, which is I'm going to explain my idea so brilliantly that they'll be super convinced and they'll buy it straight away, or tell me they're super convinced and be an abject fan. Whereas that's not the real. Well, that's wrong, because that's like trying to get married on the first date just by talking at them lots. That's not going to work. What you really want to do is do
dates like that, actually.
Yes, it doesn't work. Right? That guy probably thought that you were nodding and smiling, saying nice things, but then you'd never talk to them again.
Climbing out bathroom windows.
Exactly. Which is what happens. So the hard part is actually listening, which is it's not really about you. Which is you're trying to find out the problems people have in their lives and seeing if you can help. And this helps you a lot when you find that out, because it's less than you were thinking. Which is, yeah, you might be an expert in an area, but there's only one area they want help on.
Yeah.
And I find, like, for me doing the project I've done myself, I got too obsessed and too much detail. think I've got to get it to this level of perfection. I've got to do all these things, let's say all the stuff, and then it's too much, not the things they care about. Once you actually then it hits real clients, you go, oh no, that's pointless. I need to do this main thing in this way, and that's all they care about. And this other stuff that I was getting stressed about and spending months on, I can just throw away. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I had that experience actually when I was trying to learn InDesign to make a newsletter, and the only courses that I could find were like, here is how the whole of InDesign works. And I'm like, that was massively overwhelming, and I didn't care about most of it. And so I ended up kind of figuring out for myself and kind of put this little thing together that was like, this is how I make a newsletter in InDesign. And just like you say, focusing on those little things that people just want to know could be, yes, it would be just so much better if people would do more of that.
Yes, and I'm trying to help people, because just people are just not, is where I was at, is where everyone's at. They're just scared to talk. I'm not sure scared is the right term, but they avoid talking to their clients. But actually, the clients love it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you like 2 recent experiences, which is I was trying to fish for some new business. I do a clinical guidelines business. So I do a thing where I make apps that help doctors and nurses get the information they need in urgent situations. Mm-hmm. And I thought I could, there's a bigger product they would want that would help them. Mm-hmm. So I rang my main contact at the hospital, and just did this an interview. I just asked them about the challenges they were getting and where they wanted to get to, and what was and what the struggles, what other things they tried that was good or bad and stuff, and try to work if they really cared, and told me everything. Really, just was when they were delighted that I rang up and asked that someone was paying this interest to them, and told me exactly what more they want, and they did want something, it turns out. And so I said, would you mind if I put that into a proposal? I said, oh yeah, that'd be great. And then I wrote a proposal, which was really just telling them what they told me.
Yeah.
It was 4 pages, and only one page was just describing the problem. And my solution was really saying, I'll fix that problem. And then I got a reply back saying, wow, that's the best description of our current situation I've read. And I was like, I just wrote down what you told me.
Which is so telling, isn't it? Because like, how many people just don't bother to listen and understand the problem? And it's like, that is, and like you're saying, oh, but that's just what you told me. It's like, but that's quite a rare thing. It's quite a rare thing.
Which is my second story, because just last week, someone got emotional with me when I was doing an interview. Because I was talking to that product which I pitched for, I've now got, right?
Awesome.
And so I'm now going around talking to doctors and nurses at this hospital and understanding the situation they're in before I build anything. So make sure the right thing. And so I was talking to a senior nurse, and so I was asking you about all these questions. And at the end of the interview, and I got her to tell me stories about what times that had happened and things and stuff. And at the end, I said, "Oh, do you just mind?" So now approaching the end of the interview, do you mind if I just repeat back to you what I believe you've told me, and then you can correct it if I'm wrong, or tell me any important things I've missed. And then I just again on the call said back to her what she had told me, and she noticeably got emotional as I was repeating what she had said back to her. I think it's just in normal life, people don't listen to people that much, even though she was senior and doing a great job in a good hospital. Her experience isn't people actually properly listening to what she says.
Yeah, or wanting to hear what she says, or wanting to hear stuff that might be a little bit uncomfortable, which I suspect is why people struggle to talk to clients sometimes as well. There's that, like, are they going to tell me what I want to hear?
So that's where distance is an advantage. So it's far easier for me to talk to these doctors and nurses for a product I'm making for the hospital. Whereas say if I worked at the hospital and talk to the nurse, it would be harder because I would be closer.
Yeah. And then there's like a whole conversation to be had about about like emotional maturity and the ability to have hard conversations, which we're not taught to do as kids or at school, and certainly not by my parents. I don't think most parents have the tools to teach people to do that. And so I'm really excited about this book because I think it's going to have effects beyond just client whispering. It's like difficult conversation, or not difficult but uncomfortable conversations with everybody, and kind of being able to just talk about the things that need to be talked about. Yes,
I actually have an entire chapter on, which is it's some of the basic skills for talking to people, but saying how that really matters in life. And I have examples of how I did this with just getting my teenage daughter to open up. And you can start to apply it in life, which is that because most people, when they're talking to their friends and stuff, they are waiting for their turn to talk and want to talk about their entertaining anecdote.
Yeah.
And often we avoid talking about emotional things, but people will give you little cues. You'll talk to your friends and they'll give you a little cue that something's not quite right, that they'll give you an emotional answer about something that you're either frustrated or upset about. And you could gloss over this and move on to somewhere else. Or, which I describe, which is when you get an emotional cue, drill into it. That's the thing that really matters. So then you can talk to your friend or your family member and saying, oh, that sounds like you're quite upset about that, or that sounds frustrating, and then let them talk. Don't try to fix it. Yeah. Don't interrupt about the time that something similar happened to you. Just let them talk and ask them more questions about, oh, how did that happen? And all sorts of, and let them just talk about what bothers them, and you'll have a far closer relationship with your family and your friends.
Yeah, that's such good advice. Like if you're listening to this and that's the only thing you take away from this podcast, then I think your work here is done today, John. That's really cool. All that is awesome. So let's talk about your book then, because that's basically what your book is about, is this kind of communication between people and clients, and people and people really is what we're talking about. So what drove you to put it all in a book?
There's not a straight line. Is the honest answer. And this book has taken me a long time, and it's done a few iterations. I think as I've written it, or as I've been writing it, I've been learning what I wanted to say. Mm-hmm. And I've been learning more about the topic. I think this kind of thing, which is that if you think you learn from reading a book, you should try writing one.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I knew this topic fairly well before I started, but as I started trying to write on it, I really learned. Just everything I see is now giving me little cues, and that's an example. There's a lesson. Oh, they said that in an interesting way. It might seem to be they've taught that might highlight an email newsletter might come in from something, and they thought talking about something else, but I thought, no, yeah, I've learned a completely different lesson from what you just told me. Mm-hmm. And all these sort of things. Anyway, so how did I go on this journey? So I started with just that struggle of, I started with three main phases. It started with, all right, there's with this challenge of the customer avatar. Actually, that's not entirely true. I'm going to tell a different truth. I had a business went. I did a project for a client I tried to do a really good job with, and it went wrong. And it went wrong because we weren't in the same place. Which is, I wanted to do a really good job, but they just wanted the impossible, really. They wanted me to do exactly what they said and it to be a massive success. And they don't know anything about software. And I was saying, I can build what you've asked for, but that's going to sit on a shelf and no one's ever going to use it. And I realized that part of the challenge here was that when it actually fell apart, the problem was me. It would be very easy to get frustrated about, say, the ignorance of the client, blah, blah, things, stuff. When the problem, failure was mine, right? I did not communicate beforehand about how do you succeed in this type of thing and where we're trying to get to, and that the important things in software are what you do before you start, about talking to people and really finding out the problem you have to solve. The coding is easy, so working out what to do is the hard part. Mm-hmm. And so I started writing a book on that. And even with a great title, it's called Don't Start Coding, which is really about everything you do before you code. That's the important part. Yeah. And this was designed for non-technical people who want to write software and know nothing about the process other than it involves programmers. And I want them to not waste their money, because software developers will always take your money. But will they deliver what helps your business? Not necessarily. Mm-hmm. But then as I was writing, I realized that all my time I was writing was on this first section I had in little phases, and one of the phases was talking to people. And I realized that stuff was getting longer and longer, and it was the stuff I cared about. And so I thought, this matters. This isn't just software. Mm-hmm. This is pretty much everyone trying to do something interesting. Mm-hmm. And I want to focus on that, and I'll leave off that rest of the book. That can come later. And I want to focus on this bit.
Awesome.
and I did something very cool.
Go on.
Well, I've been struggling to end it for a while now, but one of the best decisions I made as I was struggling to get it over the line and editing, working out exactly what it should be. And I had lots of people I was talking to the book saying, I need that, I want that, that seems really good. I said, all right, I had to put on a course, and it was a beta version of a course, so it was rough as, right? It was me on Zoom with people who paid me a token amount of money via PayPal, but the people who really wanted it. And then I had to deliver the main content of my book to real people, and then got the feedback. So again, before I even started the course, I interviewed every single person coming in the course and asked them all the standard questions I ask people to find out what they want and what they don't want and all the various things and what problems they're trying to address. And then as I went on every call, did things, and at the end asked them, what went well, what's even better if, and see what specific ways I could help them with the issues they were getting. And that was amazing because everything I was obsessing about didn't matter. And my eyes were opened to a whole set of things that mattered that I hadn't known beforehand.
Okay.
We should just like, all right, these are real people in real situations dealing with real things, and they need help in these ways, and I can help them. But I now know things I have to do, or that I didn't realize beforehand. And so all this time where I was obsessing about landing pages and email sequences and all this various other things, that wasn't actually, if I would have made it perfect by my idea of perfect before I had interacted with these people, it would have been wasted effort. I hadn't actually focused my effort on the really important things. Working just this brief exercise with these people it's like the right side of the 80-20 rule. That 20% of your effort has 80% of the results. Yeah. What they told me in this short period of time in this course was the 80% of what mattered.
Awesome.
And so I could stop focusing all my effort on the 20% that I cared about that they didn't care about at all.
Yeah. And that's something that can be applied to absolutely anything. I think that's such, I'm say it again, I'm really excited about your book. I can't wait till it comes out. So I'm going to skip ahead to a question and say, when is it coming out? If I can pin you down in public, then I think maybe that will help as well, because the deadline always helps.
Well, it has to be this year. So it's very close. Well, it's both very close and very far, right? So I just need to get it over the line, but that will take, honestly, a month or two. Okay. And then I need to do all the steps that that I have not yet done, of actually getting out in the world and all of the marketing and things about it. But actually getting a printed book in my hand will take a month or two.
Awesome. Okay, so that is on record forever for posterity, and I'm going to remind you of that. Right, back to, I'm going to loop back again and to ask you a little bit about the writing process. And have you enjoyed it? Have you enjoyed the writing process? What have you most enjoyed about it?
Yes, I've enjoyed it. It has also been very hard.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'll tell some backstory.
No, go for
it. Which is that I did, of course, I followed an engineering path in my life. And at school, I was very distractible. I say very distractible in life now. But it was particularly hard when I was a child. I didn't have the systems and processes to handle it. So I really struggled to write at school. I was clever, but any kind of long form essay writing was a nightmare to me. So so as soon as I could stop those subjects, I did. So I did this maths and the sciences and just moved away from writing, because in the school world, that all it brought to me was pain and failure. Mm-hmm. And so for a very long period of time, I believed I couldn't write and that I wasn't any good at it. And just, it was, in my 40s, I decided to start. I realized a couple of things. One of which is that writing is how you communicate ideas to the world. It is telepathy. You're taking ideas in your head and giving them in someone else's head, and we do that through the written form. Right? And if you actually want to share ideas with anyone, you have to write. So I thought, right, so I had to get good at writing. And and so I talked to other authors, and they said, the main thing is just write, just put down a volume of words is how you're going to learn and do the thing. So I started doing the 750 words a day thing. And quite quickly I learned how to get out of my own way and to write in my own voice and to do things. It actually helped me mentally quite a lot. Then I started studying story techniques, and I read all the writing books and on how to be clear when you're writing, doing things. And so that was, I really enjoyed it. I find that, yeah, I'm not a terrible writer. I'm not against it. Just school was wrong, what they were doing. And that actually, no, it's actually something I do. And I now think through writing. Any problem I have, I will sit and write about it and then work out what I think about that. It's just what I do now. But then in terms of writing the book, oh God, that's been hard. I think it's so hard for me because I struggle with both the perfectionism and distractibility. So I want to get it right first time, even though I know that's impossible. And I'm very easy to distract on different paths. Maybe try it this other way, or maybe that, or something else. And so it has been like wading through treacle, writing this book. But I'm being kind to myself. It's taken me a long time, but that's okay. What's coming to actually, I'm pretty proud of. I'm pleased with where I've got to.
Good. I'm really glad. And, everything that you've said is really common. I think school does teach people wrongly that they can't write and they're not good at it because, one size does not fit all in education. And I think it's a good thing for a book to take a long time. If you've got something that's that important to you to say, and like you say, you're learning as you write, you're thinking as you write, that is what writing is. And I don't think a lot of people realize that either. It's like writing is thinking. Of course, you're learning more, and it's good that it's taking this bit longer. It's not like you're writing something that is extremely topical that you have to get out like immediately, that otherwise it's going to be too late. And I have my doubts about the usefulness of books like that anyway. So yeah, I think it's really cool. So can you talk us through a little bit about what the most challenging aspects of writing have been and how you've overcome them?
Well, there's problems I have, which I think some of your audience will have, but others won't. And so I think for me, that main thing was the distractibility and the perfectionism, which requires structure and process. So yeah, taking the time to write. So the idea, I write every day, and I do things. I was trying to make steady progress on the book. That does just help. I'm just writing on it, and that's what's happening. And I'll start with just exploring ideas, and see where it goes. And then over time, I discover stuff because I've done things. I've outlined the book, then wrote, then re-outlined and wrote. And there's this iterative nature. It isn't a straight line from your ideas to the end of the book.
Yeah.
You're discovering. Well, the best phrase I heard about I think it was from Fiction Offers, but we're saying is the first draft is for you to work out what you're going to say. So it's the first draft's just for you. It's just for you to write and do, and then you can work out, all right, so now how do I present these ideas to humans in ways that's relevant to them, and then doing that. So all my challenges have been about, well, my challenges right now is I want to do something that's really good, and I anticipate anything that's not really good. So I think that's why I'm slowing it down. The hard is I just have this vision of where I want it to be. I want it to be interesting and useful and actionable, and even entertaining, which is a crazily high barrier. I could have just knocked something out, but no, that's what stuff. I maybe need to try and keep that in check.
I mean, you say that as a crazily high barrier. I don't think it is. I think that that's what books should be. And there's a lot of, my feelings on books that are just bashed out. And I think this is really, really cool. The other thing that I read a thing the other day that just was like, I love this. The only function of a first draft is to be first draft. That's its only function, is to be written. And so that, I think, can be a really helpful thing to remember, is that it is already perfect. Your first draft is already perfect because it's doing what it's meant to do. So if you're writing it with, I think Stephen King says, with the door closed, doesn't he? You're writing this one with the door closed and it's only for you. And it is perfect already because it is doing the thing that it is supposed to do. It's fulfilling its purpose.
Can I suggest something for previous me?
Yes.
Which is, you don't have to write a first draft of the entire book.
Yes.
Maybe just take an idea and write a first draft on that.
Yes.
Your book's just a series of ideas. Write a first draft of an idea and make a whole collection of first drafts of ideas. It doesn't have to be a book from page 1 to page 200 odd. It's just a series of ideas.
And some of those ideas won't make it into the book at all, and that's fine, because maybe there'll be another book, and that is also cool. Okay, so we could talk about writing forever, but we are running out of time, so I'm going to get you back when your book is done, and we will talk about the actual book itself in more detail so that people can go and buy it. But I have my rapid fire questions now.
I'm excited.
Very kindly agreed to be the guinea pig. And I'm going to say right here, right now, that I have swiped this idea from Brené Brown's podcast, Unlocking Us. I love Brené Brown so much. If you're listening to this, Brené, I would love you to come on the show. I know you're not listening to this. So yeah, I've swiped some of these questions and swiped the idea wholesale. So are you ready?
Yes.
Cool. What are you reading right now?
Oh, I'm weirdly between books. Yeah, I'll tell the book I've just finished, which was it's the latest Malcolm Gladwell, which is Talking to People, which was not at all what I thought it was going to be about, but was fantastically interesting.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm going to add that to my list. And what is a favorite book of yours? I won't say what's your favorite book, because I think most people's favorites change as their moods change and as their life stages change. But what is a favorite book of yours?
If we were to talk about non-fiction, it's a book I've recommended so many times, but no one pays attention. It's Badass by Kathy Sierra, and she started me in the path because, well, again, she's describing about how you can be special in making a product, right? And you can be and how you can be special is by making something useful.
Yes.
yeah. No, which is like, no, she and her books are amazing because they're almost cartoons, and she's done that because she's so clever, which is she knows how the human brain works, and she's done it in the way that the person will be bored by banks of words and things that the author thinks are interesting but you don't care about, and you learn so much in such a short period of time. Yes, her idea is that like, for instance, she comes from a software development background, but she was going to write a book, a decade or more ago, on the Java programming language, right? And the world was full of them, right? And the author and the publisher said, "You've got no chance. It's not going to work. You have to be like the best to make any money at all, and the market's full." Yeah, but all these other books were just big, bulky books of what the author thought people should know about it. She went and found out what they weren't saying, what people really needed to know, what were the essential things they needed, and how could they be well communicated. Wrote that book, which was first book, and it just took over. Poof! It was the best book on that market and field because she'd been useful.
Yeah, such a simple idea. Just be useful, people. Simple, yeah, it's radical. Okay, what is a favorite film of yours?
Ooh. Do I have one?
Or a film you've enjoyed?
I suppose, which one's that? So I do like just random entertainment. I do like things that make me think sometimes in clever ways I wasn't expecting. Huh? So I can answer a different question. I'm going to say the comedy sketch that I remember, because most comedy sketches they tell you a joke, but then you forget the day after. There's nothing. But sometimes people tell you stuff that you remember, and the thing I remember is the 12 Angry Men thing done by Amy Schumer.
Okay, I've not seen that.
Well, it's like a little play that lasts, 10, 15 minutes, right? It's hard to find, but it's basically it's a comedic version of, like, there's the 12 Angry Men film and play.
Yeah.
Right? And she's on the same thing about is she attractive enough to be on television? And it's a whole courtroom, juror scene of them arguing, is she attractive enough to be on television? And it was both amazing, but also deep. It really made you think. That just the whole approach you'd taken about, which is, because those were amazing character actors who weren't particularly good lookers, arguing about whether this woman is attractive enough to be on television. Was just it just I love that kind of thing.
No, I love it. It doesn't have to be like a feature-length film. A short film is good. Thank you. I'm going to go and find that now. What's the last thing you binge watched?
Hard to remember, but the last thing I binge watched I really enjoyed was The Witcher.
Yes. Oh. Love The Witcher. Love The Witcher. And Joe's like, oh, I'm not sure it's any good. And I'm like, fine, I'll watch it on my own. So, yeah, love it. And also talking about like just entertainment stuff. I bloody love the Marvel films. And Joe's like, they're just explosions. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. Sometimes that's what you want.
Me too. And the day before yesterday, I went to see Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings with my daughter. And it was good.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, what's your favorite place?
Up a mountain.
Nice.
Seriously, I'm now a scout leader, and I'd climb mountains when I did this stuff as a teenage years. And then I got invited to a trip up the mountains in the Lake District, and I was halfway up a mountain, and I went, I remember this. I really like this. And I've now gone and got the coffee. I've now become a mountain leader, and I just feel the call. I've not really been able to do it because of COVID, but just that feel of being up a mountain, climbing a mountain. I love, and just seeing the scenery below, the valleys below you and the other peaks around you. It's awesome.
Love it. And what does power mean to you?
A tricky one. It's making an impact in the world.
Nice. Like it. Thank you. What are you grateful for right now?
Well, at this exact moment in time, you. Always, because you've been a part of my life for some time now, and you've been kind of a little constant thing. I've been on the journey with you for a number of years now, and it's been this little thing that's kind of kept me on track. I know I've come and gone in various ways, but it's kept me doing the things I want to be doing, and I'm grateful for that.
Oh, John. Right, I'm going to try not to cry. Okay, what's on your bedside table?
Nothing useful.
Cool. And where can we find out more about you?
Certainly. So my website is johnholcroft.co.uk. And then the gap between me recording this podcast and it going live, I'm going to frantically getting it ready for visitors. And yeah, that's where I'm going to meet and about this book. So I'm looking for beta readers. So if anyone wants to discover what's going on about it, and if anyone who might want to do, I'm going to run another beta version of this course. So if anyone wants to get the main content of the things and do stuff in a way, I would love to talk to people about it and do things for people to, I really want, can I help people? If I can help people, then it works. So that's right. So people can, if I can help people, wonderful.
Amazing. Oh, that's really exciting. I would love to be one of your beta people, by the way, because I'm really so excited about this book. Okay, so johnholcroft.co.uk. The link is in the show notes. Go and find out more about John. And that's it. We've reached the end of our interview. And I'm just really grateful to you for being in my life for all of these years, and also giving me the idea for the power hours that I run, which is absolutely the best thing that I have done. So thank you for that. And thank you for being on the show. And I'm really looking forward to your book coming out, because then you're going to come back and talk about your book in a lot more detail and where people can find that. So yeah, thank you.
It will be amazing. Thank you, Vicky.
You are welcome. So that was Such a great interview. I really enjoyed every moment of it. I always enjoy talking to John. He is incredibly insightful and incredibly helpful, and just wants to make the world a better place. And yeah, so I really hope that you enjoyed that interview. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed doing it. And I hope that you took away some really valuable stuff that you can implement into your own business and life. So go to johnholcroft.co.uk, find out more about John, keep an eye out for when his book comes out. And if you want to be a beta reader or a beta tester for his course, then you can sign up there as well. If you're not sure how to do that, just get in touch with him and he will talk you through it, because he is all about being helpful. And I will be back same time next week. So before then, though, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please share it. Please go to where you listen to it and rate and review us. That would be really, really helpful. We love hearing your reviews, reading your reviews. And if you want to write a book of your own, I've got the perfect place to start, either with my book, which you can get from moxiebooks.co.uk/buy the book, or the templates that I have created to help get you started, to help get you thinking about your big idea and help you get it down on paper, which are available from my website, moxiebooks.co.uk/start your book templates, with hyphens in between. And the links are in the show notes. So thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate you spending your time with us here every week. And we'll be back same time next week. Bye.